This is Kyle Crash Bochniak, and you're listening to BBYK Podcast.
What's up, Internet? This is Viet Duan, and welcome back to another edition of Face the Facts, a series where we interview professional athletes and ask them the tough questions donks like Luke Thomas are too busy making t-shirts with their face on it to ask. This is true investigative podcasting, and we ask the hard-hitting questions like, who would win in a fight, a bear or a tiger? We know that our tenaciousness might scare off some people, and that's why we respect anyone that has the cojones to come onto our show and talk with us. And that brings us to this episode's guest. And man, this was a real fun one. We are joined by UFC featherweight Kyle Crash Bochniak. Now, this is the part where I tell you that it was awesome getting to talk to him about growing up in Gloucester, Massachusetts, and how we let Ben Affleck call himself a Bostonian, even though he was born in Cali. And then he shared with me some thoughts about the state of the UFC and his philosophy on the sport in general. Unfortunately, the first half of the interview's recording crashed on us. I guess that's what happens when you have a guy nicknamed Crash on the show. So I just wanted to bring up some stuff really quickly that he shared with me just to give context for the rest of the interview. First of all, his original martial arts nickname was Killer B. He actually gave that up when he joined the UFC out of respect to Ben Saunders. He's a huge Boston sports fan. And when asked who is the bigger Boston sports legend, Larry Bird or Tom Brady, he went with Tom Brady, so you can judge or respect that accordingly. I was really struck by how smart and savvy Kyle is when it comes to the game that is the UFC, not just the fighting aspect of it, but the social media aspect of it. We talked about how, in large part, it was his Twitter air quotes feud with Jeremy Kennedy that made that match come to fruition. He also talked about how we compartmentalize the sport. You have your ground game, you have your striking game, and really it's about who can transition between the different martial arts the quickest. One last thing, and I'm really disappointed about this one. I like to ask the fighters to talk about their support team. The guys at Broadway MMA, if you guys are listening to this, Kyle gave you guys a lot of love. All right, now when the audio picks back up, we are talking about the UFC Long Island card that he's on, headlined by Chris Weidman and Kelvin Gastelum.
No, Gaslam's pretty good too. So
Yeah, they both seem to be trending in different directions with their career. Weidman was on top of the world. You know, he was the champ, beat Anderson Silva, who everyone thought was unbeatable.
yeah,
And then Gastelum, who had mixed results at welterweight, moved up to middleweight and has looked pretty good.
yep.
You're going to be on that card. You are coming off of a victory over Enrique Barzola. Your opponent, Jeremy Kennedy, has a 10-0 professional record. He is 2-0 in the UFC. You have talked about how this is a hot prospects fight. The winner gets a little bit of an extra push, a little bit more exposure. So there's a lot on the line. I was asking you questions as a fighter. Now I'm going to let you play coach for a second. When you look at Kennedy and you break him down, what does he bring to the octagon, and what do you have to prepare for him?
He brings. Let's see. He's got a great. He's on a streak. He's on a tear for one. So he's riding high. He just went into enemy territory over in Fortaleza, Brazil, where the whole crowd was booing him, and he showed great poise. He didn't break, and mental fortitude. He's got good height on him. He uses his leverage very well. He likes to press people against the fence, grind them out, suck them down to the mat. They try to get back up. He just keeps sucking them down to the mat, holding them, landing little pot shots so the ref doesn't break him up. He moves very well on his feet. He's very light. He likes to control the range. He does control the range good. I do not think he's comfortable striking. I think he's a pretty boy and does not want to get hit. He may want to change my mind, but as soon as he feels my power, he's going to go right back to his old ways of just pressing people against the fence. So he's good, and he knows where he's good at, and he likes to bring the fight there, which everybody should do. He knows he's good at pressing people against the fence, and pitting him against the fence and bringing him down and making it a boring fight. I mean, he's got some finishes. That's in his amateur career, not versus anyone very notable. I don't see him beating me speed-wise, power, or strength. I think he pins me against the fence. He can use his leverage. Obviously, it's a gravity thing, but I think I'm just quicker, and I love fighting tall guys. So honestly, I think the matchup favors me, and he's obviously going to say the same thing. The matchup favors him because of the total opposite. He's got the height, he's got the weight, but like that thing, I'm just going to be faster, quicker, and I'm not going to give too much of my game plan away just because anyone's listening to it or he listens to it, but I do want to knock his head off, and hopefully he wants to prove me wrong that he's not a pretty boy.
Now, I know you've stated you have a name in mind. I'm not going to ask you for it. I'm sure you will share it with all of us when the time is appropriate, probably with a mic in your hand. Yeah. But I'm going to let you play matchmaker, not necessarily for your next fight, and not to call anybody out. But is there anybody in your division and you're like, man, that's a compelling fighter? If you were a matchmaker, you'd go, man, this guy versus Kyle Bochniak, now that's a hell of a fight.
Well, I think my last fight with Pepe would have been a hell of a fight. I don't know if you know Godofredo Pepe, but he's from Brazil. He's a wild man, flying knees. He throws everything, but the kid just sink at you. He's wide open. I would have loved to fight that guy. But, again, like he's not any ranking-wise, he's no better than Kennedy. So it's really not going to put me up too much. After I beat Kennedy, and I'm looking forward to climb up the rankings, I definitely have some people in my mind. I'm not going to say just yet, but they're definitely in the top 15. And like, I'm the type of person, to be honest with you, I would fight anyone, anytime. But if I could tailor make something, I will have something in mind. Just to give a name in Shelby's ear, and maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't.
All right, yeah, I know. And this is something that I admired about you. You're very humble. You said that Jeremy Kennedy, he could have pushed more for like a top 15 guy. He got you. Now that may have been a big mistake on his part, but yeah. But I thought that was that showed a lot of humility and grace on your part to say something like that. I think that's part of your strength. It's how you stay grounded, but I think that's also how you stay focused as a fighter. So I want to throw that out there. I know you're not gonna pat yourself on the back, but just for our listeners, I do think that that's something that you don't see from a lot of fighters.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, we are, at the end of the day, we are all fighters, and we all want the same thing. And for anyone who steps in that cage, I give them respect. It takes a lot of balls to go in there. And I do respect Kennedy as a fighter, and he has done great things. He's 10-0. He's 2-0 in the UFC. He beat the Ultimate Fighter winner in Brazil. He went to his home turf, didn't crack under pressure, so I give him big props. And I like a tough challenge, and I can't wait to, tackle it head on.
All right, I'm going to ask you a couple quick hitters real quick. What's your favorite cereal?
Favorite cereal? Oh, man, too many. Let's say if I had to pick one, I would go with Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
All right. Man, awesome. That's my pick, too, so... You're already my favorite. All right, next question. Who is your favorite Ninja Turtle?
Raphael.
All right, good answer. Best Boston-based movie?
Let's say The Departed.
Once again, man. Good. That's a good answer. That's my... You got a couple. You got a couple up there that are really good, though. The Town.
Yeah. So. The Town was really good.
All right. What is your first big meal after a fight?
Double cheeseburger and a milkshake.
That sounds good. And then before we let you go, I mean, this was just announced. This is huge. You already alluded to it earlier. We got Floyd Mayweather versus Conor McGregor. I'm not going to insult you and ask you who you think is going to win, but do you feel like the MMA community is a little pressured to root for Conor? Is this kind of like an MMA versus boxing thing, or do you think that doesn't matter?
I don't think it matters. Once again, I got great respect for Conor for everything he's done. He came in on a tear in the UFC. He made his money. He did his thing, beat everybody he did. He's fucking filthy rich. He's got a kid now, and he's just having a kid. He's gonna go fight the greatest boxer of all time. So you got to give the guy respect, even if you don't like him. Now, stepping into the greatest boxer of all time and saying you want to challenge him is kind of insulting to the boxing community. I think Mayweather is a prodigy of a counterpuncher. I just don't see McGregor touching Mayweather. In the cage, of course, and McGregor's showed countless times he can knock people out in the cage because, it's like you said, there's other strikes involved. You got to worry about other things. He'll lure people in and funnel them in with the spinning attacks just to land that left. But if you look, he dips and he throws his left. He dips, he throws his left uppercut. You can't do that with Floyd. He's a tactical machine. He's ready to go. I mean, he fought the best punchers in the world, Pacquiao. Like, Pacquiao is a better boxer than McGregor. Like, Pacquiao couldn't touch Floyd Mayweather. So, I mean, and Floyd he tries to do the Philly shell, but, I mean, basically Mayweather invented the Philly shell. So I just don't really see McGregor winning. If he does, people are going to probably bet money on him because he's a minus or a plus 700. But I just don't think it's people are rooting for him just because it's MMA. I think people are really insulted in the box community of this matchup anyways.
I know Connor's, he said he takes it personally that everyone is kind of counting him out, and I don't think it's that insulting. We would be talking about it the same way if Mayweather decided to go into the octagon to fight Conor MMA. Yeah. I mean, we would be saying he'd get his butt kicked. So I don't think it's...
Which he would.
Yeah, oh, for sure. But it's just very impressive on Conor's part, just being able to put MMA, on that highest combat sports pedestal, this money weight fight across two sports. It's an incredible thing that he was able to put together. In your opinion, are there things that Conor can do? I don't think a lot of people are giving him a shot, especially just given the caliber of boxer that Mayweather is. But are there things that he can do maybe to make the fight a little bit more exciting? What would he have to do?
Well, first of all, he has the capacity to deal with immense amounts of pressure, which many people can't. He always shows up. If he can get Mayweather's head inside that ring, maybe there's a side of Mayweather that we've never seen before. I know Mayweather, he's a violent dude, but when he's boxing, he's picking his shots, he's going, he's running. If McGregor can get him in a fight, he may land a shot that might rock him, and then he might get in his head. So I think McGregor's greatest chance right now is just being theatrical, making it a show, just being who he is, how he gets in everybody's head and before they get into a fight. If he can do that, then there might be a chance.
Oh yeah, I think Mayweather he'll lose the pre-fight. Conor will jaw his ears off at all of those conferences.
Yeah, of course.
And you look at their social media too, and I think it comes with just being like a younger guy. But Mayweather, when he announced a fight, he had something that looked like someone put together in like 10 seconds on gifcreator.com or something. And then Conor's like out there putting up a picture of Mayweather Sr. and throwing shade at both Mayweathers. It's just, he knows how to use social media. You look at the amount of retweets and likes that he got versus Mayweather, it was a phenomenal response.
Yeah, and it does, people won't say it plays a toll, but when you're that high on a hierarchy and people following you and stuff, it probably does play a toll on that. And he's like, damn, like all these people room for McGregor, he's gonna clown me at the press conference, and you can't let that eat you up because you just gotta worry about the fight. If he lets that eat him up now and he gets in the fight, and then if McGregor does land a lucky shot, all that press conference of clowning the press conference, it might just come back to him in that cage. And you don't want that type of shit to happen. So you just gotta brush all that shit off and just worry about the fight.
The way the like big media, ESPN, Fox Sports, they're kind of portraying it, and they're all making Mayweather like he's a genius. He orchestrated this. He put this together. He's going to make all this money again. He's going to get to 50-0. I kind of see it the opposite a little bit. To me, Conor is bulletproof in this fight. No one thinks he's going to win. If he loses, it's not like anyone's going to say, "Oh, Conor sucks now." But Mayweather, he really has to school Conor. Like if Conor makes it even a sort of a competitive fight,
it makes Mayweather look bad. Yeah, Conor's playing with house money basically. It's a win-win situation. He's going against the greatest boxer, arguably of all time, and he hasn't had one professional fight. So it's crazy that it's even happening. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just basically the same as Mayweather taking on McGregor for the 155-pound belt.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. In some ways, maybe even more ridiculous because it's hard to think of a time now because Conor is so big of a UFC without Conor McGregor. But really, he's done all of this in a time span of 4 years. It's been really incredible versus Mayweather, he's been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
So,
but it's going to shine a lot of light on both arts. So I think boxing needs some light shine back on it, and this is doing it.
It's kind of funny because I think it takes a little bit of the thunder away from the recently announced Triple G versus Canelo fight.
I know. It's a bad timing.
Yeah.
Triple G, he deserves a lot of attention.
For sure. I take it you're a Triple G fan?
I love his movement. He's quick. He's very intelligent. I just love the way he makes you think about a couple strikes and he's pivoting off and just laying some shit on you. He's swiping those hands down. He's awesome.
Do you like him against Canelo?
I do. I think he's a more technical, explosive fighter. Canelo's going to try to make it into a real scrappy fight, close fight, but I just don't see him being able to stop Triple G.
As we were talking about earlier, like I feel like you really embody that Bostonian spirit. Everyone from Boston feels like they're the underdog. Even if you're rooting for the Patriots, everyone else looks at like the Patriots like, oh man, you guys are amazing. We want cheaters. We want to see you guys go down. Kind of similar to the way people see the Yankees, I guess.
Yeah.
But like I said earlier, you are a humble fighter. I really appreciate that. You're also a very hungry fighter. You're out there engaging with the fans. Fans really appreciate that. Your career is trending up, my friend. Good luck in your next fight and just in your career in general. And I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Man, I appreciate it, man. It's my pleasure to come on. It was great talking to you.
I want to thank Kyle once again for coming on the show and chatting with me. It was an awesome time. I'm so sorry that the first half of the interview got cut off, but you know what? We'll just have to do it again, Kyle. I'm going to be putting Kyle's social media information in the description below. Guys, go out, follow him if you don't already, on Twitter, on Instagram. He's a great follow. And the Fantasy Guru's Fantasy is in the house, and he puts his money where his mouth is. This guy wins, and he wants to hook you up with the strategy so you too can dominate DFS. Check out his article on the latest UFC card only at brosbros.com. Guys, if you like this episode, give us that thumbs up. And for the latest and greatest in all things BBYK, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, we are the Bros, you know.